8:34 this morning, time for us to turn our attention to hurling. I'm delighted to say Paddy Stapleton is with us this morning. Paddy, good morning to you. How are you?
Not too bad, Joe. How are you?
Fairly topsy-turvy league where one week we have these certainties where we know exactly what's happening, and then the next week the teams who we thought were certainties are losing matches. But I suppose if you're Galway, you don't really mind about losing matches if you've been making the changes you've done. If you're Tipp, you kind of needed to get back to winning ways. Almost everybody's kind of happy from in that game in particular with the outcome, I suspect.
I think you're right. I think Tipp, apart from winning a match, they probably, as much as they were performing solidly, they still needed to win a match. And it did look a little bit more like the Tipp we're probably used to seeing, which is in the forward line that they were working in tandem and working together. So their ball skills were really, really sharp. But I thought they worked fairly well as a team. They had a good mix, and I would have been critical for a couple of years, maybe more under Mick Ryan, that it was very much a long ball game where they mixed it up well the other day. They got the goals off long balls, but that can't happen a lot of the time unless you're playing a lot of variety in your play. So they did put the ball through the lines of the field, pulled the Galway guys out, and as you saw, there was space in the Galway full back line. So I say they'll be happy with that. Galway, I think they're trying different things. They have a relatively new management. I know they had last year, but they really only had championship matches last year. So this is their first opportunity to try things. We saw Concannon play twice on the wing in the league so far, and I think he's a deadly inside man. But they're just seeing what they have. Same with Conor Whelan. They know what they have with him inside, but they're trying to see what sort of shape can they put in the team outside now. The only thing I probably would have done is they were rolling a bit of momentum from Limerick. It's a short year from the Limerick match. I don't know what I pushed very, very hard and tried to, really kind of give Tipperary some doubts, because some will remember in 2017 in the league final, they hammered Tipp and Limerick, and that probably knocked that team's confidence, Tipperary team's confidence, for a couple of years. So, yeah, interesting. I'm kind
of obsessed with that notion, Paddy. To be honest, it goes back to the never give a sucker an even break. The All Blacks would never let you win a match that was meaningless, because it always meant that every time you come up against them, they're going to hammer you, and it's in your head. And in league campaigns like this, particularly where the championship is a wet week away, and it's going to be over in the blink of an eye, I'm definitely on your side. But at the same time, if you're the management and you need to see stuff, it's hard to know what to do, right?
Very, very hard to know what to do. And they are trying other stuff as well. You could see Joe Canning was midfield, but he is more used to it, and I think you'll know what you'll get with him there anyway. He's just going to be good in any line of the field he plays. But as you said, it's a short year this year. Usually, any momentum you pick up in the league, it can be nearly dissipated by championship, because there's always like a month or 5-6 weeks between the end of the league, even if you get to the league final and your first championship match. So it can just be nearly gone. Whereas if you have a bad league, all right, it can tie over onto it. But yeah, it's hard to know. I suppose, look, at the end of the day, they have the targets that they're trying to reach during the league, and I think finding different ways of playing and finding different players was probably very high on Shane O'Neill's wish listed for this league. But I just felt like after beating the All-Ireland champions, who kind of had them at arm's length last year, Tipperary are one of the other teams that are going to be looking for All-Ireland glory. So, I'd be of that persuasion maybe this week that, okay, we'll try a couple of new things, but at the end of the day, if we put Tipp down, that could be another little death knell to them.
Likewise, it felt a little bit like I expected Limerick to come out and just beat Waterford, so that Waterford weren't going to be an issue or considered a rival, or that you weren't going to give Waterford any unwarranted self-confidence. But after that game, I presume Waterford are going, come on, let's go.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're so right that there's no point trying to turn up in an All-Ireland final having never beaten a team. It's a shot to nothing trying to beat a team. As we saw in the All-Ireland last year, the league games are sometimes, like I remember our first victory over Kilkenny, we drew them maybe league finals, or we've maybe beaten them in lesser important group stages, but we beat them in a league match in Thurles in 2010, and we hadn't beaten them before that. So that was but Liam Sheedy put a lot into that match, and I know he wanted to win that match, and that it just puts lads over the edge. A small little win puts lads over the edge, and confidence-wise, say, right, we actually can do it. Okay, they were missing a few, we were missing a few. They were training hard, But at the end of the day, we got more scores than they did. We beat them on that day. So it is possible. And then you try and work from there. And look, I think it was important for Liam Cahill to really perform well. To win was a major boost. But I think we did see the extra man was a big factor in the game. I think Limerick were performing like they usually do in a machine-type manner before that. And even the player, Seamus Flanagan, is so good and he causes so much hassle that his man ended up being man of the match afterwards. So it was a good win for Waterford. I think Limerick, look, they won't be too disappointed. They know what they have. They have the pedigree there, serious pedigree over the last 2 years. They have the players. They had a few lads left off, but still haven't won a match in 3. And again, the championship's coming around the corner. So you just don't know the hangover there. And teams seem to be performing a little bit better than them. The fitness levels seem to have risen with the teams that have played in so far. And then I suppose, look, the asterisk there is that Limerick maybe haven't trained as much as them. But again, it looks better for the championship. Like Limerick last year, in all fairness, were arm's length with every team. So you'd hope that teams are coming up to them and that we won't just get a big explosion from Limerick when the championship starts.
Paddy, would the fitness issues maybe just been a step behind Limerick at the moment? Would that explain the discipline issues that seem to be there for Limerick at the moment? The amount of frees they're giving away, the scrap at the end of the game yesterday. They just seem a little bit frazzled.
A little bit frazzled, yeah. And you would say that. I think it comes with being a very good team that aren't used to losing. I would say that's a bit of it. Maybe used to performing better than they're performing. And that can get very, very frustrating. And we did see it, look, they mean everything and nothing, like what John Kiley was saying last week and coming out and making an apology for it. If they go on and just, blow teams out of the water in the first round of the championship, we'll forget about all this. But it can be like a scare and it can keep building and building and building if they don't get back on track. And 1 or 2 injuries can do that as well with that. And I see, like, even, they have a little bit of problems in the team as well. They're not really getting goal chances at the minute. In the full back line, I suppose Richie English has been a great player for them, and he's not hurling to where they want him either. So they have a little couple of problems around the field. But I think fitness, it is a problem because other teams, it's not that they're totally unfit, but other teams are probably flying. Because other teams are training very hard. I know Tipperary were doing an awful lot of fitness work before Christmas, just after Christmas. So those teams are probably near championship fitness, cardio-wise, endurance-wise, whereas Limerick probably looked at the long game and they didn't want to mentally probably tire out their players before championship. But that has its own issues. And we're kind of seeing them at the minute, but, we'd be foolish to get carried away too much, I think.
Is there anything else behind the discipline stuff? Is there, the explanation that... or the suspicion that they're a team who has decided that systemic fouling is going to work for them in the long run, that's just a strategy. People can give out about it all they want, but the rules are the rules, and if that's what you need to do to win games, then that's what you're going to do. Is there anything else to the discipline issue in your view, or is it something that will settle down?
It should settle down, I think, because the league will be dealt with. I think John Kiley will come into the championship and he'll have learned from the league, and even mindset-wise. I think it's a frustration. Seamus Flanagan shouldn't be flicking out at a cornerback for shoving him. I mean, most cornerbacks will put an arm on you, will shove you. So I think it's a frustration, maybe not playing as well, maybe not starting the league well. You could see the frustration. And your team operates like your management leads you into to operate. So I suppose John Kiley's comments last week, he was quite frustrated. He was very thorny. And I suppose if you looked at Limerick, you'd say, okay, a little bit ill-disciplined. They're a little bit frustrated, a little bit thorny. But I think it all stems back to right now, other teams are able to put it up to them. Whereas they had control, as well as winning every match last year, they had control of every match. Whereas they don't look like they've had the same control this year. Now, we would say they'll improve, of course, but as of yet in 2021, they haven't controlled teams like they were able to last year. And it'll be interesting just to see when their fitness comes up, when their game plan is more set in stone, if teams are able to keep with them. And then we'll see, I suppose, if those ill-discipline stays going.
Yeah, and look, as championship progresses, there is an opportunity there, but it's given everybody else confidence. It's making everybody else a training feel, hang on a second, this isn't guaranteed another year where they're going to blow us out of the water. Before we let you go, I just wanted to talk about Patrick Bonnar. It was announced that he's going to be out for the rest of the season with an Achilles injury. It's a terrible blow to a player who's already missed seasons with injuries in the past, and we've seen his resolution in coming back from them. But maybe just give us your thoughts on that, will you?
Sure, look, it's so disappointing. All I can do really is echo what the whole of Tipperary is feeling. Like I suppose with all the good players, the great players, the Paddy Mahers, Brendan Mahers, Noel McGraths, you can name all that era of player that have played over the last 10 years. He's in Tipperary's people's hearts in a different place than even those players, and he mightn't get the flashiest scores, but there was times it was like you had another forward on the field. It was like he did the work for everybody else in that forward line at different stages, and he was just a man mountain. But we'd love to see him come back. That's 2 career-threatening injuries in a row in 2 years. If there's any man that would make it back, it'll be him, but it would be really, really hard. So it's bitterly disappointing. Even to have him in your setup, you look at him going out to play a match or to train, and you say, yeah, you have something in the locker that other teams don't. So disappointing for him, like, great fella. And you'd hate for that to be the end of his inter-county career. So knowing him, I wouldn't put him away that fast. But look, it's devastating for Tipperary as well as himself.
Paddy, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.